It doesn't, they never asked for a specific one, that's just what the board.
And you remember what we gave last
Yeah.
year?
Okay.
Here's the
This is
JVO
what I was
grant.
telling you guys about, the
Here's a
post
JVO
prom,
grant.
they didn't send a letter yet,
Right.
Tiffany got it.
Huh?
So
Okay.
that's the letter, so maybe
What
we
do you
put it under old business or something.
JVO.
She remembers what we gave last year, so I guess we could go off
Hold
that.
on.
Cause that looked to me
War
like it's just a
Memorial
form letter.
piece, right?
Yeah.
Is there a
I put it
confirmation?
down here to remind you, but,
She talked to me,
Okay.
yeah.
cause it's not tourism.
Said it was already turned in.
Yeah, it's not on the.
Yeah, there was.
So were there some,
They're coming around, the updated ones.
I think they're right here. You got stuff.
oh, I got them.
It's in my office.
And then just,
I literally just got it.
One of those.
updated.
Thank you. Yes.
If anybody else wants an updated one, I'll put something right there, if that's okay. There's just a couple items on, we'll go over it.
There it is.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and call this meeting order while we're passing around the roll call. I'm gonna do this thing. We have a motion, oh no, I'm not, I'm looking at it through the light because I can see which ones, make sure it's different. No, I was actually looking at it through the light to see which, make sure the ones are different. On the approval of the agenda, it was my fault, I sent out an attachment that I thought was an attachment that wasn't. There's no action items, so it's not a big deal. But under Parks and Tourism, there's one more grant we wanted to talk about. And actually, we have another one, so we'll just talk about it. It would be under old business when we get to it. And then under planning and public facilities, instead of just saying road, it should have been motor fuel tax, road maintenance, and then holiday lane repairs. So, a motion to approve the updated agenda.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Approval of the minutes for Thursday, February 21st, 2019, and Thursday, March 7th, 2019. Oh, big one. Thursday, January 31st, 2019.
So moved. Okay, you got a second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Two comments from the floor, are there? Kai Sticker and Corey Winter. First National Bank.
I apologize, I was supposed to put you guys on the agenda, so if you want to use a little bit more than 5 minutes, you go right ahead.
Oh, okay, all right. It shouldn't take
First
much
National?
time, so,
Yes.
yeah, if you don't mind. I brought some, I had a little PowerPoint, but I just
Hi,
printed it
Corey.
off for you, so
Good,
that
how are
I
you?
printed off for the trustees. I don't know if I have enough, so if you can kind of share,
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You can share with me guys if you want.
There's the ones there if you guys want.
Well, good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak tonight on behalf of the First National Bank of South Jacksonville. First, offer an apology. I missed your last meeting where you voted. Chamber Ag Banquet was the same night, so I had signed up for that. I was there. So my apologies. So I wanted to just kind of share with you tonight some of the information about First National Bank of South Jacksonville and encourage you to consider these items as we move forward. We really appreciate, first of all, the relationship that we've had with the village for a number of years, almost 20 years now. So first of all, thank you. If you'll just flip to that first sheet, just kind of go over a few things. We chose to build our branch in South Jacksonville in 1999 because there were no other banks in the village. We felt like there was a great opportunity for us, and we had a lot of support from the village. We have invested over $700,000 in our building and equipment here in the village of South Jacksonville. And I went back and looked at the real estate taxes we paid over the last 20 years, and it was a little over $136,000 we paid in real estate taxes. That's a direct benefit to the village. And our bank's very proud of our investment in South Jacksonville and the positive response that we've received from the village and its residents over the years. The next sheet, just wanted to kind of describe to you why we need the village deposit accounts. Because Your deposits allow us to make loans to small businesses and residents in the village. Our loans allow small businesses to generate revenue and pay sales tax. Our loans allow residents to purchase homes and pay real estate taxes. So that's a direct, indirectly, through the bank, a benefit to the village. I just went back and added up, looked at our balance sheet from our branch here in South Jacksonville. At this time, we have over $15 million in outstanding loans to small businesses and residents located in the village. Over the last 20 years, we've originated over $132 million in loans to small businesses and residents located in the village. And the result of those loans is hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax revenue generated for the village. We're a locally owned bank. Our board of directors and our staff, we live here, we work here, and we spend our money here. Corey grew up in the village. He lived here up until just a few years ago, right over here on Diana Drive. I lived in the village for a number of years, unfortunately right across the street from Dick. But no, so we are familiar with the village and very much support all of the things that the village does.
Is that why you moved?
Well,
Yeah,
that's
that
part of the reason.
Yeah. We wouldn't blame you.
Our bank invests thousands of dollars each year supporting local organizations that promote local businesses and promote economic development in the village. We do not invest our money to promote economic development in Springfield, Bloomington, Decatur, Farmersville, Girard, Heliopolis, Lewiston, Mattoon. Those are the branches of another local institution. They are headquartered out of Springfield, and they do spend money to support economic development in those other towns. I believe the communication is the key to maintaining a strong relationship with the village, and we certainly want to do that. We promise to not take our relationship with the village for granted. Perhaps we should have communicated with you on a more frequent basis, and that's our fault. I know you guys voted to move some of your funds over to Prairie State Bank, and I completely understand that. You have a fiduciary duty to do that, and that's completely understandable. I would like for us to maybe revisit that if we can at some point in the future, and I would appreciate if you'd allow us to bid coming up as your CDs mature. Do you folks have any questions for me? Any specific questions about the bank or anything?
No, Dick, do you want to share with Kai because since they weren't at the meeting, you had actually said what he said here, revisiting.
Yeah, we're gonna revisit it.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
remember
or
if we
here,
said-
one of
I
these,
don't-
fill him in on
I don't remember
that.
if we decided on 3 months or 6 months.
6
but
months. 6
We'd have to go back,
6
yeah, and
months,
look,
yeah.
but we decided we would revisit it in 6 months.
Okay,
So-
that's wonderful. I
Yeah.
really, really appreciate that.
And we actually stated that in the meeting.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was part
Yeah.
of, yeah, that was part of the, what's that? During the minutes, there you go, yeah.
And we have an election coming up, so there may
You
be
guys
3 new
approved mine.
people or 3 different, we don't know, but, so the board's gonna change, so then votes change.
That basically was the option that was available to the new people, if any gets on.
Right.
They'll have a say so in this
Right.
versus obligating them for a year or 2 years or
Yeah.
whatever, you know,
Yeah.
so, but in 6 months, we'll go from there.
Yeah,
And
Well, thank you again for letting me talk to you about the bank and how we feel like we support the village with our town. And I think going forward, we'd like to maybe have a little more communication and presence here. We'll probably try to make it to more of your meetings. So thank you very much.
that'd be great.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I'm part of that 15
Tony,
million.
and you know you guys can leave, you don't have to stay after you talk, unless you want to.
There's a lot packed into this
Yeah.
meeting, so I wouldn't stay if I didn't have to.
There's basketball games on tonight.
Yeah.
So I'm Tony Moore from South Jacksonville. I've been here, moved here since 1998. Grew up in Winchester. I've been working up here ever since pretty much, my whole life and everything. I'm working at Edward Jones Financial Advisor just right here on South Main Street. CD rates, I know that nothing against you, Kai.
Oh, I know.
I said,
Business is business.
well, I mean, and I just heard that you guys was reviewing your CD rates. I don't know how competitive we are. I just know that we've been very competitive in the year and a half or so. And our CD rates, we're not a bank. We have big banks come to Edward Jones and say, hey, we're going to offer you a 3-month CD, 6-month CD, 1-year CD. We got $10 million, $20 million, $50 million. We got 17,000 offices throughout the United States, so that we can pretty much do it. The only thing that difference with us is we have to sell them in $1,000 increments and stuff, so that as long as that's the case, you know, you can do it, you know, $1,000 increments. If something where if you got, you know, if you buy a 3-year CD, say 18 months into it, you need to get out of it, you know, as long as, or you need to get out part of it, you know, you get the 18, as long as it's $1,000 increments, you can take it out, whatever you want on that. So basically on that aspect of it, you know, you can look on the sheets, which is in the upper left-hand corner of where it's at. They change all the time, which they've kind of leveled out. The banks have been catching up with us and everything, just where the interest rates are, which is okay. But on the flip side of it, you know, so we're just right here locally, along with the other ones and everything. And I just like to, you know, I just love to earn your business if I can. And you know, if you guys have any questions about that, I don't have any problems about that. So it just, I heard it on the radio this morning that he was doing that, and I said, well, you know, what I got to lose? I mean, it's something where that no competition never hurts anybody. Stuff. So if anybody has any questions about that, that's pretty much what I got to say. Good. So,
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Tony, you're gonna stay with us the rest of the night.
what's that? Yeah, I will. I got the keys to the car.
That's all right.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, unless there's any objections, we're gonna skip down to Parks and Tourism because we have some speakers here for that too, so.
So we have Mr. Dobson with Jacksonville Speedway, right?
Before you get started, I went to Kenny and told him about this situation, so that's where we're at on this, you know. And from that, Kenny, say whatever you need to say.
I'll try to be brief. I hope Dick gave you kind of a proposal, if you will.
Right here.
He kept saying, you know, fill out the form, and I'd like to go to this form, and I'm like, man, it's just not really for what I'm really talking about. So we kind of put a separate proposal together. I do really want to first thank you guys for letting me be here, but also just the concept of the Jacksonville Speedway being at the village, asking for tourism, you know, the dollars to promote tourism. I think what it shows is that while we have between Jacksonville and South Jacksonville like two different political bodies, two different governments, pride in each community as to why we're at each place, both communities, both cities and village are without a doubt stronger because of the other. And whatever weaknesses one might have, it's like the other one is picking up. So we do have to stand back and look at it, and I know you do every day, but stand back and look at it as a community. You, village residents, benefit from what's across Michigan Avenue in the way of employment, restaurants, whatever, you know, whatever, every day. How many times do we cross Michigan Avenue, the border, right? Jacksonville benefits without question for not only the residents and the workforce that you have here, but the development you have, you know, throughout the village. And what you really have is to me, from about Kai's Place south, really one of the most attractive areas for tourism and stays in west central Illinois. And I have to say, and particularly as it relates to what we do at the Speedway. I don't mean to stand here and say that we put more heads on beds than say Tom Lynn's does, that Illinois College does. Without question, you get it, I'm a parent of traveling ball players myself. I mean, you go, you stay, whatever, I get it. But I will tell you that we put heads on beds. And I'll get calls regularly, and I'm going to be brief. I want to go through kind of how our schedule is divided up. We have about 21 races scheduled. 2 or 3 of them get rained out. It leaves us, 19 to, whatever. And 10 of them are what I'll call a local event. Like, I'm only trying to get people from within, it's Friday night, I'm only trying to get people from 20 minutes from home to come after work, go watch a race, and go home and sleep in their own bed. Then we have about 10 events that are what I call special events, or they're consequential in the racing world, if you will, I believe. 4 or 5 of them consequential nationally. NASCAR driver, last year on a Saturday afternoon, I'm at the racetrack. I get a text from NASCAR driver Christopher Bell. Hey Kenny, thanks for putting that race on the internet last night. I was watching out here in Vegas before a race today, it was really cool, right? We put on consequential events about 10 times a year. One of them, our premier event, the World of Outlaws event, I've sold tickets in California for that event, right? A new event, so like each year, we're trying to do bigger things, while not kind of forgetting those 10 races where, when we started this thing, we're called Last Chance Promotions. My dear friend, Bob Hawks, was the last person to run the racetrack. Great promoter, great businessman. I kind of helped him on the side in that a little bit, and I remember him coming to me and saying, it's not there, man, it's just not there, Winter passes, my heart's to that place. My dad ran that place when I was young in grade school, so I kind of grew up there. Some of us got together as like 3 or 4 months pass and we think it's going to close, and our business is called Last Chance Promotions. Named it that from day one. It is the last chance, I believe, for what we do there to survive. And we've started from an 8-race schedule the first year and built it up to where half of our races, half of our events, I believe, have national consequence. Those bring people here. I'll get a call on a Tuesday or Wednesday, hey, I'm coming, where should I stay? Okay. Happens regularly. My first question is, got 2 different things going on here. I have people driving passenger cars coming from, say, Oklahoma. They race the next night's in Decatur at Macon Speedway. They got a lot of options, right? They can stay at Hampton Inn down the street from the racetrack, probably not a bad option. They can come out here and do what they want. But I also have 100 race trailers coming. And so my first question is, why are you coming? Coming to race, coming to watch. Right? If you're coming to race, there's really not a debate in that question. If I'm going anywhere with a semi or even just a pickup truck and a 24-foot trailer, I'm going to spend the night, I'm staying out here. You can't even, and this is nothing against the city of Jacksonville or the hotels in Jacksonville. It's not us versus anything. I'm just telling you, I'm not pulling a trailer through the Super 8, right? So you guys have something that is attractive in particular to our people, okay? You also have now 2 great places to fill up something, pulling a trailer, okay? I have a great sponsor in Casey's General Stores, has been for years. They're great to me, okay? I'm going to encourage people to go get gas at Casey's General Store on the way. It'll be all, it's all over. Got signs out there, whatever. If I'm pulling a rig, I'm not pulling into Casey's, right? It's just not there. So what we bring is particularly suited to what you have, right? When I talk about the division, not the division, but what Jacksonville has, what South Jacksonville has, what you have are assets, right, that are useful. So in the core of this request are 3 or 4 different things, but it's about promotion, okay? It's kind of what I do at the racetrack. I'm the promoter. Thank God it's not what I do for a living. But we promote, okay? What I'm asking a grant for here is to do promotion. Promotion for you and promotion for me. Promotion for you. I have 7, 8 times a year, I'll have 100 trailers with 70 of them coming from the east. Springfield, Indianapolis, Bloomington, wherever, they're coming from the east, right? What did I say, where would they want to be? Like fund them. It's an extra mile, right? That's where I kind of proposed this more at exit 64, right? There's more for them. Drive that extra exit, right? What you're looking for, you've never seen. The reason you've never seen it is because, just like I would do, I'm taking the exit. I'm taking the Morton Avenue exit, right? I'm gonna drive by the prison, I'm coming to the racetrack. Fuel isn't an option. Staying isn't an option. Driving through McDonald's isn't an option, right? It's not there. So what I'm sort of offering here is, I'll promote your exit, and really that's what I'm promoting. I'm promoting from exit 64 straight down Main Street, through almost every retail business in South Jacksonville before they make their way to the racetrack. I think we can accomplish a lot with that. I indicate our social media, I have 13,000, I say I'm not an we're a big we, but we have 13,500 or better Facebook followers. As I said in that, I would put that up against about anybody around here. When we want to say something, people will hear it. I'm right now targeting, our first race is next Friday. I have 57,000 people targeted outside of Morgan County with Google ads and Facebook ads within about a 50-mile radius who have any interest in anything related to auto racing at all. They're seeing it. That's what we do. We go out and try to grab people. Friday's one of our medium-sized events, not, it's I need people to drive here, right? As I'm doing that, we can be promoting your accommodations. I'm proposing a new event this year. 3 or 4 years ago, we took this plunge and said, okay, we aren't on the map until we have the biggest event in small racing, the World of Outlaws. So we did it. This will be our 3rd year of doing it. That's at the end of April. The second biggest event in what we do is what's called the All-Star Circuit of Champions, owned by Tony Stewart. There's 600 racetracks in America. There are not 5 racetracks that host both of those events. That's a brand new event for us. That will draw us the same weekend as the NASCAR race in Chicago. There'll be jets at the airport for that one from the NASCAR race. I mean, that will be a big deal on a Friday night. The racing world will be paying attention to that night. That night, I'd like to be talking about exit 64 and putting heads in beds out there. That's a big sponsorship. It's a big, easy way to communicate to the public where they need to be to satisfy their needs. At the same time, I'm asking for a grant to help us do things. Last year, we made the best decision I've ever made as a racetrack promoter, and that is putting our stuff online for free. Video, live video, for free. Just like I said, Christopher Bell's like, hey, thanks for putting that online. Every racetrack promoter in America would say, if we sat in a meeting, dumbest thing you ever do, people can sit home and watch and not come pay any money to come do it. No, you gotta see it before you get it. If you can sit at home and start to figure it all out, that's great. But more importantly, 50 or 100 times, at least 50 times, I had either a message through YouTube or Facebook or somebody I'd run into, hey, I've never been there, but I've seen it, and I'm gonna make it there someday because that looks like a pretty neat joint, exposure. We had 1 million viewer minutes of our live videos last year. 1 million viewer minutes of our live videos last year. So that, I propose in there, let's give 15 minutes of every broadcast toward, the hotels out here. Let's expose the place. I think we have a unique audience to be able to promote and get the message out that the village is trying to get out. This isn't about a one-way street where I'm asking you to support an activity for the community, which I think I could legitimately be standing here just saying, hey, we have a racetrack over there, gives your people, residents something to do. Could you please help us? I'm not here doing that. I'm here saying, I'm asking for your help, but I'm gonna pay it back, I think, more than your investment's gonna be. And then, one last thing that really isn't tourism related, but I really always respected about what you guys did at the concert in Corking, is you were able to take a totally legitimate tourism related thing that brought people to the community. Totally legitimate expenditure of tourism funds, but in a way you gave back to the residents, and they got a little bite of that apple, right? They got a little bite of the tourism money. So when I initially was thinking this out, I thought, wouldn't it be cool? I know so many people in the village who like growing up car people, and that just kind of, a lot of them come, but just a lot of them don't, and I know they'd love to be there, but $12 a night doesn't sound like a lot, but you bring your wife, you bring somebody else, we're talking real money to come to the racetrack, and it's a value proposition. So originally when I put this together, I'm like, okay, I'll tell you what, I got those 10 races. Really, just if we do that, I think the residents of South Jacksonville should be able to come to the races for free. So let's let them in. Give them something to do. Let them enjoy it. Give them an activity, but also let them participate a little bit in the rewards of the tourism. Let's share it with them. They're like, that, and I got doing the math, I'm like, I got about 75, 80 people there, 90 South Jacksonville. Probably talking about going a grand the wrong way per night on those shows, and then we got the big, and I'm like, I don't want, so this isn't a solved problem here. I want to let the residents of South Jacksonville in free. What I don't want to do though is have a hard to follow schedule of people coming to the gate thinking, hey, no, sorry, this isn't your night, we have bigger events, so I considered $10 off on the other ones, just to where every night they might come, there's something there for the residents. When I added that in, I honestly think I'm probably in that given more than I'm even asking for, but I do think that it will help the racetrack by just people enjoying themselves. And it kind of spreading as something people are enjoying doing. And I can assure you, whether you come or not, that there are a large number of people in this village that would appreciate not having to get in their pocket to come to the racetrack. And I'm sort of offering it to you for free, because I believe what I'm offering you in the way of the promotion, I can honestly say with a straight face, I think you're getting the long end of the stick, but I appreciate it, and I'd ask for you to give it consideration, and I'm a phone call away if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any question?
Oh yeah, it's not a good way
I
to
have
go.
a question before you
Yes,
sit
ma'am.
down. Did you come up with this more at exit 64?
Yeah,
I mean, that's brilliant.
yeah,
I really like
I
it.
think that's something you guys ought to run with, whether we're involved or not.
And you want a trademark on that?
I reading my mind because
I got lucky because
I love it.
I was like,
No.
let's do the exit. Like, what's
Yeah.
the exit?
I was actually talking to somebody
all
about a
the exit.
billboard, and we came up with the same thing. I was like, did you read our mind on that?
And I'm like, oh, it's exit 64. It's more than 64. So there's probably something a little better. But anyway.
No, I love it too. I think it's
I
genius.
think it's great.
I like it.
My only question is
Yeah.
for the tourism, the way our ordinance is written, it's specific towards hotels.
Right.
I mean, I love that you've included
Right.
restaurants and gas stations. I just don't know, does that disqualify? I'm not saying it disqualifies you from the grant. I just mean the ad.
I understand. Can I ask a question about how that works?
Yeah.
Can you use tourism money to promote commerce in South Jacksonville generally?
Not commerce, it just has to be,
I mean, if you're gonna go out and do a Visit South Jacksonville ad.
not commerce so much as visitation.
Right.
If there, it doesn't,
Visitation.
but that is the end goal,
Right.
is commerce, yes,
Right,
so.
so.
It's just
that
how,
part of
it's how you word it.
Is more of a come to South Jacksonville, and I threw those logos on there, this was 2 months ago.
Nothing
Had
in
some of
there
them already there.
is in stone. You can
Right, no, no,
change
God,
these
no, I
ads.
just-
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
just
no, and
tried
I
to-
like it. I just didn't know if like, if we go forward with this, can we talk about making the hotels the largest?
You know,
Because that's,
where that list
yeah,
came
we
from, that was, I always have a
I like
master
that the
list every
restaurants
year
were
of
there.
doors I'm gonna knock on to get sponsorship.
yeah.
And that was kind of my South Jacksonville list, and I'm like, I'm not even gonna go bother them, like the hotels and stuff. And that's also, the other I kind of mentioned in there is, I would view this as, every hotel's on board, I'm not going to them asking for anything in particular. I will say, and I don't have any, but say the Hampton Inn comes to me and spends good money and buys a sign, I'll treat them equally. But each of your hotels would be treated as a, kind of a major sponsor of the racetrack by doing this, so.
But to answer your question, is can we include the others as well? Then
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Cause.
Just as long as hotels are,
Yes,
I mean, I think just my personal, I would like the hotel's biggest.
yeah.
But I never even thought about adding the others to it,
Sure,
but,
and then somebody's
I
gonna
just
feel
didn't know if
left
it
out.
disqualified
That's
if
the
we
No,
problem.
we'll actually talk about that again down
You,
okay, great.
at that one.
Yeah, yeah,
I would say you limit it to hotels and fuel, because otherwise somebody's gonna feel left out once you start getting into the other businesses, but that's just my.
yeah,
Oh, like, it ain't like we got a surplus of restaurants.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, anyway.
So we could probably
Yeah.
add them all, I just wanna make sure we do it.
But you've got one on there.
It's
IHOP,
even.
right?
Yeah,
You
that's-
know.
I do this.
Yeah, I
so,
understand.
so do we wanna add this to our action items, or do you,
You wanna have any discussion over it, or?
I'm fine
What
with
did
it,
you
I
ask
like
for?
it,
How much?
I think
15
I asked
15,000,
for 15,
yeah,
and, the 50, and that's kind of where, I haven't figured out. There is no question, as part of that, I wanna let at least 10 nights, everybody in South Jacksonville free. I can handle that. I do not want this to be considered as you're buying admission for people in South Jacksonville, but I'd at least like, if we're gonna go that route, and I really wanna go that route, I'd like to at least get that covered. I'm not sure the 15 covers, like, I'd like to just go free every night. Except, I have 3 events that have, 3 really big events that have other entities' fingers in the number of people we have drawer. And it's not like I can walk 200 people in the door,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, when I'm kind of with somebody. But there's a good solid 17 events. 7 of those events cost more than $18 to get in. One of them, yeah, 17, 20, 18, 20, $25 for about 7 of those events. And then the others are $12 events. So, wasn't kind of expecting final decision at the table, so to speak. I don't know how this all works.
When would you like an answer by? Like, what kind of deadline you looking at?
I really, because to do it right, like if we're gonna do, say, the All-Star, they're already asking me, like, wanna get on their schedule, like, who's the sponsor, kind of. Honestly, like, the next meeting, like,
Yeah.
2 weeks,
Next
and in the meantime, or next week, yeah,
Yeah,
whatever.
next week is our.
Otherwise, we're just missing out. My first race is next Friday.
Yeah.
Well, to do
I'd
what I'm
love
getting
to-
at is
I'd love by Wednesday to just say, hey.
that's what we're getting. We kind of have to hash it out now
Right,
then, so we
that's what I
can
mean.
decide.
And I don't need to be here while you hash it out.
No,
That's it.
you should stay in case we have questions. I just wanna throw out
I
there.
do want to point one thing out now, during the
What?
Morgan County Fair,
Yeah.
he doesn't race. He has no races at the Morgan County
Oh,
Fair.
yeah.
so
Is
Yeah.
there-
nobody gets all
Yeah.
bent out of shape that there's race, because it ain't no race, never has been a race.
yeah.
at Morgan County Fair.
And I will also say this, it won't be my time. I see that below me is a request from the Morgan County Fair. Okay? Everything I just said, say it again. they're great partners of mine. They put so much effort. It's all basically volunteer. They put on great events, and I've never seen a dime walk out of the racetrack, and I've never seen a dime walk out of the fairgrounds. It all basically gets put back, and I do think, you know, you've all been to the fair, so.
Yeah.
I just want to throw out there, I appreciate you wanting to give free admission to South Jacksonville residents, but personally, I don't feel like that is necessarily what the tourism ordinance is about. I mean, that's generous of you, but I feel like that ordinance is written for us to promote our village, not give our residents free things. Now, if people might not like that because they want to go for free, I mean, I would go. But I don't know if that's what that money's for, and I don't know how you guys feel.
I don't think
You stole my thunder.
Was that, yeah, I love the idea, but I don't know if you
I
have
don't
to do
think we should
that.
base our opinion on whether he gives
Yeah,
away.
Exactly.
I don't think you should either.
And I think everybody's probably thinking the same thing. Our biggest concern when we're spending the tourism money is how many people do you have coming in? How many people can we get at the hotels? And what are we looking at spending grant money versus how many people we're gonna get come in?
Totally agree.
That's the bottom line that we need to look
Right,
at.
and so what I didn't want to do was come here and have promised that,
Right.
and then backed up on it. I'll tell you, I will back up on that as, if we do something, there will be opportunities, substantial opportunities for residents to come for free. That has nothing to do with you. I think that's sort of, laws are written the way laws are written, but to an extent, it's the residents through you that are supporting the racetrack.
And you're more than welcome to include that in there.
Right.
That's just not what.
Right, no,
Yeah.
totally.
That's
I
just
know
not
you
what
can't
we would
consider
base
that
it
part
on.
of the
Yeah,
tourism
I don't
stuff.
think you have to do that.
No, I
You,
don't, yeah.
you do have under strategy, deliverables, and costs, you have free admission, number 4, to all South Jacksonville hotel guests.
Yes.
Now
easy.
that I'm on board with, because
Absolutely.
that's tourism, they're
Right.
paying to stay at the hotel.
So there,
So,
what I do
that's
is I judge whether my race fans are already staying there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So on nights where I'm not putting heads in beds,
Mhm.
then I would take a bunch of free admission tickets out of the hotels for me.
I think that,
On
doesn't
nights
that
where my
fit?
race fans are staying
I think it
there,
does.
I'm not gonna run another bunch of free admission tickets. okay?
Yeah.
But that judgment, I would
Yeah.
like to be able to be trusted with that judgment a little bit to make that call. And, you know, that somebody coming to town, staying in the hotel, if I can get them out there to eat a cheeseburger, have a beer, I'm good with it, you know.
So I think it's, I mean, I'm a yes for the 15,000, because I think that's what it's for. Our money is to promote, and we don't have a racetrack, we don't have a speedway in South Jacksonville, so we're not competing against anything, and your point in the very beginning was all I needed to hear. It's about community and together, and it's no competition. We're supporting, and you're gonna put heads in our beds, so that's what that's about.
I think one thing that really needs to be stressed also is the fact that if he'll do this exit 64, or whatever
Yeah, I
you call
love
it,
that.
if he'll do that, you're looking at another 50 to 100 vehicles at 100 gallons
Yeah.
a pop
Yeah.
coming through there. And
Yeah,
this is gonna help these guys out there. You know,
sure it is.
Yeah.
versus, because you come in from the east, the first place you buy diesel is, and you can't get in, there's Casey.
Yeah, they got one pump.
You got no place to come in from the east. You got one place coming in from the west. And they'll turn there a lot of times and they'll even go there. They'll go up by Capitol Records or whatever. they're
Nothing
looking for.
indications with the trailer on one
Yeah.
Avenue, 5 o'clock after.
Right. But these, you know, we're set up that they can get in there. Once they learn they can get in and out of here, we'll have them.
Yeah.
And that'll also in the long run increase our traffic count down there.
You
which will-
got it.
That's,
Traffic count will go up and everything and
I would say if you do this, that this whole Ward 64 thing, if you're on board with that, what I'd suggest in my expense, I will get, and maybe have Rick Rolson do it, or I got good graphics people, is that we sort of, I work with somebody, I don't care, Megan, somebody, and we kind of agree on a logo that's gonna be the logo for that. Like, that you take, besides my event, that is usable in other aspects for you guys to use to promote the thing. If you guys could kind of put your arms around what you want, we'll come up with a nice professional way to present it.
Oh, that's
And then we have a consistency between like my event and what you might want to do with somebody else, so.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
Anything else?
Do you have anything for the Morgan County Fair?
Morgan County Fair was supposed to be here tonight. Gary Hadden was going to come, and at this certain time of the year, they're busy. He's a farmer. Jay Harris is a farmer, and Harris is trying to sell product out there. And Gary Hadden called me 3 times, and his cows are having calves now.
It's that time.
And being real truthful, that's his main thing right now is cows and calves. Again, he pretty much summed it up. I'm not here to you know, I'm a fair board member. I mow grass out there for my own mind, you know, to get away from the whatever. But that fair board will bring in, and they'll come to the next meeting and they'll talk. There is nothing here tonight about this. But, you know, that fair board will bring in, that fair will bring in probably 15 to 20,000 people
Oh, yeah.
over a 5-day period. The 2 concerts, guys, that 10,000 people. It's not hard to do.
So what are they asking for?
15,000.
Or is that to sponsor a concert, or what are they
I
asking?
I think they want to sponsor the whole fair, but they'd also like to sponsor a rodeo, which this young lady over here, kid, won the rodeo last year. It has nothing to do with this. But this rodeo has really caught on, and rodeo's going to come on big this year. But it can be used if they split it however they want to. It would be advertised, again, the motel. I'm so big on advertising South Jacksonville as I am the motels, because one will bleed over into the
Oh,
other.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but they're looking at a 5-day run out there, and I'll guarantee there's people that stay
Yeah.
here in town to go to the Morgan County
Yeah.
Fair. But let those guys come next time
Okay.
and present their own deal.
Who are the concerts this year? Do you anybody know?
And they're even gonna do a concert after that rodeo.
Chase for the ice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I
Well,
heard somebody say Chase
for
Rides.
And Landon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do know,
And
this is on the fair, and not that, one thing, back to that community thing, part of it is having facilities, right? And I know that I kinda worked some magic to get some bleachers to walk from the high school last year to the fairgrounds. Some of them went to the racetrack, and other ones turned into the rodeo arena. And Jay contacted me and said, hey, you think you can find any more bleachers for the rodeo arena? I'm like, you don't need any more bleachers at the rodeo arena. He goes, they were all full last year.
Yeah.
And so, like, for example, they need bleachers, right? And bleachers are $100 a butt. So sometimes some of that's used for actually making a facility to where you can make something better.
They are one of the few fairs in the state of Illinois that actually make money. And again, he works with them, but he doesn't work for them, and you have nothing to do with they don't have anything to do with his deal, and he doesn't have anything to do with the Morgan County Fair, so to speak. It's 2 separate things.
Yeah, so, anyway.
Okay.
But they haven't turned in their
No,
grant
no.
application, so
They
we
did.
can't.
They were
put that-
coming
No.
tonight just like he
No.
was,
Okay.
and he turned his in to me
Okay.
yesterday, and I give Stacy today.
The
Okay.
next grant we have is for WJVO. They're asking for $3,000. This is for a memorial of over 5,000 names of fallen military heroes. Let's see, I guess that's, what is that? Let's see, about a week. 8/28 through 9/2. It says this memorial will draw from a large area as we have numerous heroes on it, and it has never been in this area before. So the money is actually going to be used to help pay for the fees.
So it's like a traveling thing, is that what
Yes,
you're saying?
yes.
Oh.
This has nothing to do with the wall that was downtown
No,
last year.
no.
It kind of is.
Oh, is it?
It's it's for the war that's been going on now, that's been going on for years. It's the furthest south they've ever been. So they are in Chicago, I think, at Wrigley next month maybe. But other than that, they've never been.
It's like the one, but it's just a different.
Yeah, it's just a different, and they're not
Okay.
as regulated.
And who is the requestee?
Sarah Shellheimer, whatever you pronounce her name.
Yeah.
It's Morgan County Media.
Full
And-
disclosure as usual, my mother works there.
So where will it be? Did you say where it was?
It is going to be uptown,
Yeah, I think she said on the square.
square, yeah, on the square.
They will, I talked to Sarah today, so
Oh, okay, that's
she,
fine.
she did tell me to relay, and I didn't get a chance to tell you this, and I apologize, that on the day it starts, that they would direct them to have the procession in through South Jacksonville. There's a big motorcade, I guess, with
As
the,
they bring it in.
yeah, and she said
Okay.
they would do
Did
the
you know that,
exit
Tim? They're
through,
coming in through South Jacksonville?
yeah, through South Jacksonville and down to the square. And then,
Hmm.
I know you've probably talked with her too, right, Tim, over security stuff, because they're looking, it's pretty expensive to do something like this. I
Yeah,
guess.
so is that just to offset the cost of what
Yes.
it is to bring it?
Yes,
And she said it's not as regulated as the one that was there last year, the year before, because it's a newer thing. So once you get established, you put more regulations in, you're not allowed to do things like make money or put banners. This one we could, if you wanna put a banner of our hotels or something.
Oh,
She said you could
Oh,
do
wow,
that if you
okay.
want to. It's up to you, but there's nothing in writing yet that says you can't do that, so.
I don't know if I'd want to.
I know, and that's what I said, you could if you want to, and she said that, and I said, I don't know if they want to or not.
Yeah.
But you have the option if you do, so.
are they running ads on the radio, I'm guessing, where we'd be mentioned?
I don't know.
Don't know.
I don't know. That's a
Didn't
question.
say.
we-
Yeah.
in the package, Tiffany.
Does, okay.
I think it
See, and I don't have any.
Because I would assume we would get some kind of advertising package.
I will call her.
Yeah, that's a
Sure.
good question.
I will contact her.
They are a radio station, for goodness sake.
Yeah, I'm
I
sure
assume
there
they're
will be.
doing, you know, like some advertising for it. but
Yeah,
Okay.
Stacey, I didn't
No,
get
you're
on,
fine,
I
you're
just
fine, you
told
knew
her-
about it,
but they
so-
turn theirs in.
Yes,
So that
yes,
could be on
theirs
the
is
agenda.
turned in, yes. Okay, then we have the Rotary Club, they resubmitted their, grant application for $1,000, $250 per hotel. We were actually, it actually goes in the paper tomorrow, but Karen said that with everything that has went on and we misunderstood, and she's going to place us in the paper, in our hotels, automatically in there, so.
But there is no representation tonight here from the road.
No, Karen was unable to make it. So,
Yeah, and I don't know that, we never really stipulated people have to come.
No,
but first
no.
No,
grade,
but it's awful damn nice.
Yeah,
they've never had to before, so.
Say, I am a Rotary member, but I'm not on that committee. So,
And that's
Well, what can
how
you
much
tell
is
us?
that
Yeah.
again?
That was the,
Right.
that was the
I'm one of the guys who
$1,000.
just
$1,000.
started
That was
bringing in
$1,000.
stuff to Park all the trailers.
there you go.
That's my job, so.
And theirs was for how much?
1,000.
Yeah,
1,000.
okay, that's what I thought it was before.
Oh, I was thinking 25.
Okay, so the billboard on South Main, that will have to be put, because they're asking for the billboard.
Who, Rotary is.
Morgan County Fairs wanted to ask for it too.
Well, so who do you want?
Well, this is the thing.
Well, let's discuss
We
it
got the
then.
Memorial Day too. I have,
When does the Rotary want theirs? Or, did I hear that right, the Rotary?
Morgan County Fair.
Morgan County
Okay.
Fair asked for it.
And then I was thinking about putting something up for Memorial Day because nobody had said anything whether they wanted it or not. But then I have Bob Stamball. The ABATE is winning it at the end of April through May for motorcycle awareness.
And don't they usually pay for it?
Yes, they pay for it all, yeah.
Because that doesn't really qualify as tourism, but they pay.
And they were gonna do something different this year, as far as the advertising.
Can I ask, you got a billboard that you guys can rent?
We don't own it.
We,
Oh, you don't, okay.
yeah, we have a billboard, we control
Oh, you
the,
control, okay.
yeah,
All right,
so
all right.
we can only use it for certain things, we can't lease it
Like
out. or
Bartlett.
anything, so.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Understand.
So what's your dates for those, Stacy? Do they all go together? Like, would they work when Bob wants it and the fair?
There's no dates for the Morgan County
We don't know
Fair.
about the Morgan
No,
County
we don't
Fair
have
dates
anything.
yet.
The
Memorial-
fair will be, I like the 10th through the 16th, 17th of
10th
June.
of
July.
July,
it's
so
So
table,
we're safe, that
so
one.
table the fair,
Yep,
scratch off Memorial Day,
yep.
and, well, actually, yeah, just scratch off just Memorial Day and put in A-Bait, and they will be here next week to talk to us at the meeting.
They never said, do you want them to come to the meeting to talk to us about it?
I
or-
really like to have people.
Well, I
come
wanna,
talk.
if we're gonna approve it, we need to know what it is we're gonna approve. I mean,
Oh,
that's
the
what-
sign, the sign.
the actual
I'll have
image,
you
that's
come-
what-
Yeah, I'll tell him to be at the meeting then.
that's what Rob said we need to do, is we need to know
Okay.
what.
They told me they were gonna be here tonight
Yeah.
and next week.
No, he didn't, when I talked about him, he did not say that to me.
They were, at their meeting, there was members said they were gonna be here tonight.
Oh, well,
Bob was not at that meeting, I was.
okay,
not here,
well, I'm
though.
just
I know they're
telling you,
not.
no.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to know what the image is
But I
before we
will.
But
approve
you're
it.
kinda
Oh,
looking the
yeah.
month of May and.
Very end of April, the motorcycle awareness is May,
Yeah,
so
so
very
I'll
end
tell
of
him
April,
we
so
wanna
it's up
see
for
it,
May
we wanna
first.
see the
Yeah,
artwork.
so,
Bingo.
I mean, if it's their standard, like you see in the yard signs, that's no issue, but we just gotta make sure what it is.
Yep, okay. And then.
They would pay for it again, you said?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so the money's not an issue.
No.
Pay for the vinyl.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Because we
Sounds
don't, we
good.
don't lease out the signs.
Yep.
Just clarify
Yep.
that for the record.
Okay, and then, the billboard, the secure and the lease.
The
you
the
wanna-
lease, if anybody's been down Morton Avenue, there is an empty billboard there. I sent the email with the where it is. My idea with the whole, kind of like the 64 morgues, except, well, like Dick said there, when you come in, if you take exit 68, and you come in on Morton Avenue, there's nothing there, right? For travelers, not to insult Jacksonville, I gotta watch what I say, I'm not trying to say that. There's nothing there yet for travelers, and the idea there would be they would see that billboard that we could advertise, not so much the village, but our gas and our hotels. And then get people to turn left down Main Street. And it's a lighted billboard. The vinyl would last, I'd have to check my email, I think he said almost a year. He did, he said the vinyl should last a year. And it's $700 for the vinyl and $550 a month for the billboard. And that's something that we could actually draw up my thought is, so that way when there's a new board down the road, if we drew up an ordinance that said that billboard would have to, instead of being any events or anything like that, we just get one image, one thing and say, hey, that's just advertising to get people to turn left to go down to our hotels and gas stations. And then we could just stick something on it and when the finals
I
get
got no
going-
problem with this because
Yeah.
you have Jacksonville
Yeah.
advertising right out here, right in front of our
Yep,
motels and
Yeah.
all that stuff about going on further and going
Yeah,
into
absolutely.
there, so.
And it's, people were coming from that direction, they're gonna take exit 68 first. Take exit 68, they're coming down Morton, and then they see that billboard and go, oh, this is where I need to go down to the newest hotels in the area. Something like that. I don't know what to put on it exactly,
okay.
Yeah,
but. Well, they're already on Morton then, so it's too late to put that. But I wanna put one, if we could get one outside on the interstate, right before exit 68. That's actually what I was talking to the guy about, and I was like, we could get one that says more at, I literally told him that, like more at
Okay.
64 or something like that. But this one would be right on Morton Avenue, like I said, it's lighted, and so if anybody done it, nobody has a problem, or if everybody's not have a problem, if everybody's okay with it, I'll go ahead and tell the guy that we want it, and we'll approve it at the next board meeting.
Sure.
I
don't
think it's a great idea.
And then we'll have to, they do the artwork, but we'll either have to decide what we want on it, or contact some company and say, hey, we don't, an ad company or something, say, make us an ad, and that would last a year, the vinyl would last a year. And that's a good thing, is we don't have to sit around every 3 months and go, what are we gonna put up again? It's up and it's done for a year.
Lower crime rate left on Main.
Moving on. Before we go into landscaping, do you want to go ahead and touch on since we're in the whole grants and everything?
Downtown,
The downtown and the post-prom.
Proms. the post-prom.
yeah,
Both-
the
both-
prom,
both
yeah,
of
the
those
prom's
are-
not tourism, but do you guys remember I said JHS prom, post
did.
party?
Yeah,
We had mentioned it last time.
Right, and they
Yeah.
hadn't sent the letter, well, Jeanette Barlow sent it to Tiffany, cause she
Okay.
does that each year, right? So do you wanna say what they spent last year, cause I don't, or what we gave last year?
They've never asked us, since I've been here, for a specific amount, but for the past
And that's
3
this
years,
one, if
we've
Megan
given
needs it.
$400, just out of general.
How much?
400 out of general. So if you wanna do that again, or if you wanna change it, whatever.
So they didn't fill out a grant application?
They don't, it's not a
grant,
tourism
it's a-
grant.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
it's
just
just
a
a
donation.
Because it's
Oh,
nothing to
I
do
don't think I
with
need that.
tourism, it's just,
I think
But
that's
since
you.
we're talking about
Oh, yeah,
giving
yeah.
away money, I figured we'd go ahead.
so I'm all for giving them the same amount, or, I mean, I feel if they don't ask for more, then
Yeah, if they're not asking for
Then
more,
we'll
it's
give
hard
them
to,
the
it's
same.
hard to
Yeah,
volunteer.
for-
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
really increase
Yeah.
that if they're not asking for more. So, and for Main Street, it's a downtown concert series, but Judy Ty is out of town, Melissa Zerner is the event coordinator, so Dick, if you'd rather have them come and talk.
Hey, it's not up to me, but I just appreciate the
Well, and if you
fact that
prefer, that's
these
it. 'cause-
people come
yeah.
and at least present what they're saying, and if we have any questions.
So you
Well,
may
something
wanna-
like this big, yeah.
Stacy,
like
did they
this.
actually give you like a application? They filled out
Yes.
the tourism grant?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
When is the first,
Main Street concert.
concert?
Let's see, June, it's the end of May.
Can you go ahead and go over what they're asking for briefly?
They're asking for a $15,000 sponsorship. It's for, well, you can read it here on your bat art. Let's see. Application accepted. Okay, the concert series costs $70,000. Local equipment, rental and supply purchases support the community, while professional caliber band fees take the majority of the budget. Local and regional marketing are also costly necessities for a successful event. The tourism funds would contribute to all of these expenses, so it's gonna pretty much go for a little bit of
I
everything.
just knew, I do know, cause Melissa asked me to be on this committee because she used to help with our concert at Cornfield. So I'm on this committee now, and I said to them, cause they used to do, I don't know if you guys remember the Levitt AMP grant that people used to vote for, and Jacksonville won it a couple years in a row, I think.
2 or 3.
They didn't get it, so that was like 35,000 down, so they're like every other event, they're down money.
Yeah.
So I said to them, I can't guarantee you anything just because I'm a trustee, but I'm gonna tell you this qualifies.
Okay.
But I said the trustees have to talk about it and decide, so that's why I'm just a member, I'm the grunt work committee, so like
Yeah.
setting up and tearing down and doing that stuff. So Melissa or Judy, you might wanna wait, I don't know, to, you know, if
Okay.
you have questions, then they could tell you about it. But again, I said they should, kinda like I said to Mr. Dobson, we don't have a concert anymore, and we don't
No,
have a
we don't.
downtown.
No.
So I feel like there's no possible conflict.
Yeah.
And I don't know though, we'd have to talk about, cause I said to them, you've gotta be able to show us people are gonna stay at hotels.
Yeah.
They said, but they would have to tell you. Judy, I would only expect her to tell you because she's the executive director. It was implied that when they always have the bands, the groups, they would tell them to book at our hotels. They said some of their contracts include them, Main Street paying for them. So she said, we can pick whatever hotel we want them to stay at. And I said, if you can guarantee us someone's gonna stay at our hotel, it makes it better for us when we're considering it.
Okay.
So,
So
and they
I'll
would
just
make us like a major sponsor,
See if
but
she won't come to the meeting then.
I
the
think,
board
cause then you
meeting.
guys could
Yeah.
ask what that means, what's a major sponsor, what do we get, you know?
Okay.
So you could table that, I guess, and
Yeah.
ask Judy if she could come.
Okay, the only thing with Godfrey Park, the landscaping and the entrance sign, I've started calling to get proposals for the landscaping. I had one today, but Ambrose is wanting us to give him how much money we want spent. Turner's is willing to give us proposals, so how should I handle it? What do you think about Ambrose? Should I go ahead and just, do we have any idea what anybody's wanting to spend?
What did you say originally? Cause you were thinking about it originally, way back when you first started
Yeah.
talking about it.
I have no idea
I
what
don't remember.
landscaping costs, so
I don't remember
Dick
what that
doesn't wanna
was.
spend a
There was a
dime,
number
but,
we
you
threw
know.
around, but I don't remember.
You know what my gripe with this deal was that I hate
You
to
have a
say,
gripe?
okay, give them $5,000, and you end up with 4 plants and an old burned up bush, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's what we get is $5,000.
They're professionals, Dan.
But I
They
did-
do that.
But, you know the new tree that was in there, that got put in?
Yeah.
They did say that mulch, or whatever it's in there, that is going to kill that. It's gonna smother it. That needs to be pulled out.
That's why I was kinda thinking it's piled up against
Yeah,
the
I said,
truck.
okay. And then that, when you go off to the side, you got this big area here that's, he's wanting to put, I don't know what it's called, I call it fake grass.
AstroTurf.
Sod or
Sod,
something?
yeah.
Okay, sod.
So that way it looks better, and all you have to, you know.
That's actually
I,
good,
what I
isn't it? It's just
am
cover.
asking them for is low maintenance. We want to put it
That's-
in there, and we don't wanna have to worry about it no more.
Low maintenance, low maintenance.
But
So that's what I
think the
asked.
proposal, let them come back to you rather than you telling them you have a maximum.
How about you do this? Turner said they'd give you a proposal. Whatever their proposal amount is,
I'll just go to them and say,
give that
hey,
amount to Hembros and say that's the amount. And then see what the two look
See what we
like.
get, yeah.
See what, compare the items. of
Yeah,
the
and then
value.
Good idea.
yeah. And then I've been working on, I've called the monument company for the rock, the entrance,
Oh,
the
good.
grave rock. Hembros is also gonna get me a price on that too. So hopefully, then maybe,
While we're on
Turner's
the
can do
rock,
the other.
is there any wiring over there? I was wondering.
No, but
No, I
there's
didn't
gonna
think so.
be.
There's gonna be?
There's gonna be because of the,
Depending on whether once you vote on
I was wondering if we could do any uplighting on it.
there is gonna be.
That'd look
Yeah.
really nice.
Project.
There's really not that
You're
much
doing away
landscaping.
with the sign, right? The
Yeah.
rock's the
The
sign.
rock,
The
yeah.
rock would be the
yeah.
sign. a big
There's really
rock.
not a lot of
Yeah.
landscaping over there now.
When you do this rock, don't forget Dawes is also in the
Yeah, yeah,
tombstone business,
Yeah.
whatever you wanna call it.
yeah.
We don't want a tombstone.
Well, it's the same idea.
Talking about it, so I was like, you know, like a tombstone, and Chris is like, you want a
Here
rock?
lies Dixon.
We want to rock.
Okay, and I'm done.
Okay.
Can I ask for clarification from the board real quick? Every time we've done tourism grants, unless the board has said to me to have the check ready when you're going to approve, I've not ever released the money ahead of time unless we've discussed that. And then when this whole Rotary thing came up, there was some confusion. So I want to make sure that that's how you want it done, because I want to make sure that that wasn't on me. And if it was, then tell me and I'll
No, that wasn't
correct
on
that,
you.
you know, so.
No.
Is that?
Oh, you mean the first time?
Right, so do you
No,
want, you
no,
want to
I
keep
didn't have a
going
problem
with,
with that.
you want to keep it going the way we have, where you approve it and then I put it in the payables the next meeting, unless you tell me differently?
Well, when do they need, does some of them have a date, Stacy, like they need it quickly?
I would say the
When do
Rotary.
you need
I would
yours,
say the
Mr.
Rotary.
Monday.
Well, and that, you already
And
approved that. You
Rotary
said
Okay,
you
needs
were-
theirs.
okay, okay.
Yeah,
Who?
Rotary would need theirs.
Yeah.
Well, you
That's who
already
I put
approved
down,
the
yeah.
grant, you just didn't approve releasing the money, so that's not a problem.
That's what she's saying is that,
Yeah.
so there's a delay and we'll approve a grant in December,
Yeah.
Right.
but then we're not approving the check and the payables until January.
Because I
So
don't
there's a
actually write
month
the
delay.
check.
So did you just hold that
Ah.
check?
That check
Not
just got held.
initially, it got held when you said don't pay it.
Right.
Yeah.
So could you just have, I mean, you can just give them that check?
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
already approved it,
Yeah.
it's just gonna,
We
you're just gonna
approved the
approve to
grant,
pay it.
yeah. We just haven't-
I mean though, like, is the process still good, like at the next meeting, say you approve these grants,
Yeah.
those checks won't be in your payables until the May meeting, unless
Oh.
you tell me differently.
Unless,
See,
yeah.
unless you say, go ahead.
So if
and
any of
release
if any of
those.
these we want paid out in this April meeting, we'll have to tell Tiffany
Well, I
that we
would
want these
think-
checks.
I would think all
Isn't
of
that
them,
what you
pretty
just said?
much.
You would like
I
yours
I
in
could care less, anytime in April is great, I just would prefer to be working with one board. And for what it's worth, if, I would think everyone would sort of, if something's approved by a board, that maybe the payable also gets approved by the board to where someone isn't making plans, not even us, just anyone getting a grant or something, doesn't sort of plan having been approved, and then a new board kind of gets there if they have a different opinion.
Okay.
So anytime in April's
Oh,
good for us,
I-
but I'd
I-
like for it to be.
yeah.
That's actually, I didn't even think about
Yeah,
that.
I didn't
Compare
either.
switch
That
boards.
is.
So
So
why don't
maybe
we,
we should do each of them?
why don't we just do,
All
if they
of
get
them.
approved, why don't we go ahead and
Yeah.
cut those checks
Okay,
that
do you
way?
wanna just do that? I mean, do you want
For,
me to
for
just?
grants, why
ask-
don't we just start doing that?
Okay, then,
Yeah.
with
that
that
way
being
there's not
said
a
then,
I
I'll
think
need
I
a-
might have forgotten we did that, because
Okay.
I guess I was assuming when we have these meetings and then
Right.
the board meeting is the next week, that they're getting their check.
See, I did too,
Okay.
I assumed
No,
it
You're
too.
right, it's usually a
Yeah,
month.
Yeah,
okay.
They're
not
assuming.
until
Then,
April
with that
too.
being said.
So
I'll
I'm
need to
okay
know-
with that.
I am too.
I'll need to know before
Yeah.
each meeting.
Yes.
What's going
Okay.
to be approved and how much.
Okay,
So,
okay.
will you let me know then now?
But there's no
Yes, all of them.
downtown,
Okay,
no
so 15.
fair, right? We tabled the fair?
Yes,
Yes.
3,000 for JVO and 1,000
15.
for,
1,000, well, that was already one.
yeah. And then,
And look at you, you got 15 your first time out.
what about that the downtown?
Change
That's,
your mind.
Well, it's a straw poll,
Well-
so it looks
3,000,
good.
1,000, you got that?
That was already,
Yeah,
And then 400.
I don't think we'll get,
Oh,
we won't do
okay.
the downtown
Yep, got
then
that.
yet.
No,
until-
we tabled
she'll
that in
have
Morgan
to-
County
thank
Fair.
you.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so
this one's tabled.
racetrack grant, who will that check be written to? I don't have any paperwork on that, and I'll need some
That-
paperwork.
I got it all
Probably,
for you.
You'll- Okay,
This, during
and
this
I'll
week.
need the Morgan County one.
Got it.
Okay,
And
perfect.
then Harry, I know it's not a tourism grant thing, but
We got
will
the
she,
J-
can
yeah.
she pay the prom too?
Yeah, I told her that.
Okay.
I would've
Is,
had that
is
in
the
there.
Morgan County
You
Fair
have- yeah.
are gonna be an action item or not? The
Thank
fair
you.
No,
fair?
it's-
We
They
tabled
didn't
that.
give
We already
their-
tabled it, cause he didn't,
And then
I-
can
I
I some
thought
tourism
so,
too?
but I would.
Yep,
put a
I got
check
'em.
mark next to it.
So that one and concert, or concert
Yep.
series. are tabled.
downtown, right,
Okay.
out the Rotary.
CD
Sarah?
renewal,
Thank you.
or are we, done?
Back up to finance.
Yeah, finance?
Okay, the only reason that was on there was because Dick asked in the meeting if there would be penalty, and I didn't know the answer, and I found out there will be no principal.
Well, back up and explain what penalty is.
Oh,
Penalty on the principal.
yeah, if we cut the, cut the CDs before they were due, and transferred them, and I found out that there will not be. It's only interest penalty, but you're going to a higher interest, like 10 times the interest you're getting anyway, so it's up to the board. But if you want me to move them now, I can. If you want me to keep them until they come due, just let me know. So, but that's the answer. Don't everybody tell me to do
Sorry, question there.
Wait till they mature or?
I
move
thought,
them
yeah, I
out?
thought we talked about that, waiting until
I
they
thought we
mature.
said that, but I don't know, what did
Yeah.
we say?
Well, you did, but there was the question of
Penalties.
thinking you were gonna get penalized.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
That's the
now,
only reason why
We
we
didn't
said
wanna
wait.
stop one and,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and add to it.
And there's an interest penalty, but you're moving to a way higher interest, so,
Move.
yeah, it's, my suggestion is moving, but.
yeah,
If the higher rate is gonna make the penalty a wash, then there's no sense in sitting around waiting for less.
Would you allow us as a bank to bid on them? We were given an opportunity to bid.
Yes.
Okay. When would you like me to provide it to you?
Can you do it by next week?
Absolutely.
There you go.
by,
Thursday, Wednesday.
I
Wednesday?
can email it to you. Is that all right?
yeah, perfect.
Okay.
I will say, it's not my choice, but if you're looking at apples to apples, we're looking at 1 year.
That's 1 year CD rate.
Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Good thing you guys stayed.
Yeah, see?
Yeah,
Yeah, you will.
so yeah, if you wanna do a 1 year, and that way, just because of the changing rates and all that, that's kind of what.
The rest of it's gonna be faster. Well, until we get the temp stuff, who knows?
Okay, so I can-
yeah, just take one pass, I'm sorry, I'm just like,
Well, it was, looked like two separate stacks, and I was making sure that they weren't like really similar looking, but different.
that just crossed 11 things off our list because you went over. He's like, oh, that's all.
that was mine. Yours won't take long anyway. What are you doing at
Why'd you
Gulfport
just
Park?
scratch all your doubts and never mind?
I didn't know that you were even considering moving your deposit accounts, and based on our relationship, normally what happens is somebody's upset about a certain rate, they call me.
Sure.
We have a discussion, and so it just came out of the blue, and I wasn't
Sure.
prepared for it.
And I just want you to know that there was no opportunities to bid given to anyone, like, we weren't upset with you, that's why, you know what I mean, like, no one was upset, there were no bids, there was nothing, it was simply Mr. Roan coming in, and this is back in October? September,
been a while.
October, so I mean, it was mentioned at 3 committee meetings before he even presented, you know, that we were working with him and that he was presenting the stuff, so I mean, it's been a long process, and it's been to at least 5 meetings now, you know, maybe 6 even. So he really took the bull by the horns, you know, and came in and presented and really gave us the big rates. And that's where all this came from, like, nobody was ever upset with First National Bank, nobody ever,
Well, yeah,
You know-
that was the purpose of me coming tonight, is to
Sure.
tell you what is special about our bank that
sure,
this bank, what we do for the village, and the benefits we provide to you,
Sure.
that it's not maybe a direct benefit that you were looking at.
right, but, yeah, but just so you're aware of that, because we've
Okay.
had some conversations about
Well,
that.
our board of directors at the bank, first thing they said to me is, what did you do in the village? I'm like, well, I'm not sure I did anything, I need to go and ask that
Yeah.
question. And they said, well, don't be confrontational, just tell them what we do and what we can provide to them. So,
And you're in the money business, and you know, if somebody comes to you and says, we can give you, $30,000 more in interest, and that's kind of all of our jobs is to.
Sure, I understand that. You have fiduciary duty to do that.
Yeah.
Tim,
Okay, the TIF, and
The
you
other
all
TIF.
should have copies of this if you, the first page, what I did was, the guy from Three B's
sorry.
came to me and I went to him, I hated him, but I went to him and I said, let's see what you've got here so we can send this in to see if you qualify or whatever's going on. So I sent this all to our TIF attorney, which is up in, Bloomington, Illinois. And this is what I got back, and basically it says that they are eligible, this is from Gwen, who runs the thing, really. $1.1 million of TIF eligible project costs were submitted. And then she goes on there and says, we need some proof of payment, which is, that's no big deal, but it's in there. And usually, she starts talking right off the bat, or showing a 50% share of the net real estate, because usually we did these on a 50-50 deal. So whatever they had, we, the village, retained 50%, and we paid back 50% of the tax to the landowner. So if you go on the next page, I believe it is, you'll have a page that looks like that. And this is a projected expense and income and all that stuff, and this is for review only. It does not mean that he's going to have the taxes, but my own personal opinion was, this year he'll be spending, for 2019, you pay for 2018, but for 2019, his taxes will go from 10,000 to 51,000 out there, because that's when the full assessment comes on and all this. Okay, the full assessment, we are not responsible for any taxes paid back to anybody until they pay their taxes. When they pay the taxes, then we come back. If you look on the last page, I have an example of a TIF payment. Owner has to pay the real estate taxes first. We'll take 2019. Estimated real estate tax due is $51,181, less 43% of that for payment retained by taxing body, which is Morgan County. Now, we had to do a deal with them to extend the TIF agreement from, I think, 2024 to 2017. I'm sorry, 37. So we had like a 13-year extension in them. And so the first 44,000 goes to the county. And that's due to the agreement, so on there, and the county to extend the TIF until 2036. The net real estate is tax that will come to the TIF is $29,173. Now, they use 50%. The last deal that we did was with Love, and you guys approved this, because I wasn't on the board then, but you approved 65% being paid back to the real estate owner, which would amount to $18,962. You could increase this to 90% if you wanted to, but the difference would decrease the amount retained by the village. Now, how you come up with the 90% is, that's what they paid Bartlett. And that was a deal cut behind the door and all that other stuff, way back when.
In the door.
The door is open.
You know, if we go with the 65 and the 35% will be retained by the village to put in the fund, which means that we'll have another 10,210 in our fund to loan this money back out or something if we need to, and or have it in there available to pay for the obligation that we incurred over here at the school. So, and the motel has been approved for approximately 1,100,000 eligible reimbursement. If they went through this on a 50-50 deal, on 50-50, they're gonna get back a little over $500,000 through the period of the TIF. So, I think it's up to us to look and see if what we wanna do on this, if we wanna continue on with it and make this an ordinance, or 65 or 35, or whatever we deem to be the right amount, do it and be done with it. Any questions?
Well, what are your thoughts?
My opinion is to go with the 65, 35, for a simple reason is that
65, 35, which way?
65 to him, 35 to us. And that's what we did with Love. Because if you, I think you're opening the door for trouble if you
I agree.
go back and doing anything less than that. And again, we're still making $10,200 on this to
Yeah.
retain
If
for
we
the next.
take out, don't consider the 90% to Bartlett,
Right.
because that's, what's our average, what's our average percentage where, that seems high compared to what
It goes all the way from,
it's all over the board.
All
What's
over the board.
average?
I think it's around 30-ish.
That's what I thought, 30 or 40%.
Yeah.
To me, 65
but some
high.
of those were done when they first started the TIF.
I understand.
And consequently, they had a better chance of getting the money back,
Some of those,
I
though,
just-
you're looking at too, when you're looking at a $20,000 project, it's a lot different than a 1.1 million. You know, like if you're talking
Yeah.
that I'm gonna give you 500,000 versus I'm gonna give you 18,000, I mean, you know, that's
You're
big
looking
money.
over- You're right,
I
but
don't-
you're looking over a period.
I don't have a vote in this, but I think 65 is high, but that's my
Here's
opinion.
my only concern, and this is my only concern, that has nothing to do with percentages or anything else, is that this is this gentleman's third application on the same project.
So,
Well, you can't apply more than once on the same project.
well, I'll beg to
Okay.
disagree with you, because if that's true, Gwen would have never brought this back, never gave us this.
And I've got an email from her right here, and she says
What
that,
date is it?
January 18th, 2018.
Okay, this is as of March 21st, 2019.
Okay, but this is her explaining that he did apply already
Yeah,
and
he's applied.
that what he received.
I know the email you're talking about, and that's my reservation with it, and Dick and I have had many conversations with this.
What she's explaining to you, you asked her for these numbers, and she gave you these numbers.
Yes.
I understand that. What she's explaining in this email is that he already applied for the TIF project and received something for that specific project.
Okay,
So
but he never applied for all of it.
It
If he was
doesn't-
eligible,
he was eligible to apply,
but he didn't.
but he
Correct.
did. I've got the application here in my hand, and
Okay.
everybody's allowed to look at it and can
Okay.
pass it around. He applied, and he received something, and then he billed. So you apply before you build.
What did he get?
He got a cul-de-sac and sewer.
I'll
It-
argue with this, because that cul-de-sac and sewer, whoever built there, to my opinion, would have to been, we would have had to supply the sewer and the
Now,
water.
normally the developer
cul-de-sac.
builds that.
I don't know.
But it doesn't matter, even if he got nothing, even if he got nothing, if a developer comes in and says, I want something, and let's give you a crazy example, okay?
Yeah.
So let's say a strip club wants to come to town, and there's no ordinances against it, and they want to build in a TIF district. And we say, whoa, okay, there's no ordinances against that, we can't stop you, but we're not giving you any money. So then they build. And then the next board comes in, and this guy comes in and says, hey, I've completed my project, now it's done, so I'm gonna retroactively apply because I didn't get any money. And you gave the last place money retroactively. So now I've got my $2 million strip club built, give me some money. It's incentive to build. The guy's already built. He agreed to whatever the last board said, and then he built.
I want to add, you and I
Took
talked
you a
about this
while,
a
We've
lot.
talked about it several times.
I know it's been said that I don't like the owner there. That is absolutely not true. I have no reason to dislike him, no reason to say, anything, other than I want the board to know what happened. And if you remember right, and you can pull minutes and audio if you want to, but back in January of 2018, it was brought to the board. I brought to a committee meeting then that he was in asking about a TIF agreement, and we didn't go anywhere with it, but,
Right, I remember
it was
that.
fine.
Yeah.
Well, then later on, 10 months later, it comes back that he wants to apply again. And it was after he came in and acted like he had no idea what was going on. He'd never applied for this before. Could we walk him through the process? Could we do this? Could we do that? And Harry was in my office when he came in.
Yeah, he came in and told me he'd never
Yeah,
applied
we'd
before.
never-
At that
I've never
point,
done this. I
at
don't
that
know
point,
how
he'd
to
already
do
applied
this.
twice.
So, I mean, this is, and I'm not, that's where, so to say I dislike him is not true. To say that he completely misled me and had me, chasing my tail around, is the truth. So that's, I want, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's where.
So here's a question I have for you. So if you, and I have no doubt he applied before, I also have a big issue with the code enforcement officer at that time. Apparently did not relay information. That's what I'm hearing from Mr. Patel. So I don't really care because I don't know. That's not my job. What I'm seeing here is that Glenn is our TIF expert, right? So if he submitted once, twice, 20 times, wouldn't she be saying, hey, Dick, he's already submitted and we've given him all his payout and he's not.
Okay, I have an email from her.
That's not what I'm reading here though from her.
This is the latest email as of March.
Now I see that she is asking for, this is not a like, we say it's good and done. For the land sale, she needs copies of settlement sheet, closing statement, to verify land and close. So I see that she's not saying it's a given. I'm not reading that.
Right.
I'm reading she's saying, here's what I see, but he needs to go
If the
through
board
these
wants to do
steps.
this.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You can see she writes, if the board wants to do this, and that's fine, if you
Yeah.
want to do that.
And I see what you're saying about he applied a lot. I don't see that she's saying it's a given. I see
Another
she's
email
saying,
that I had from her that
I don't
she
have this,
said-
I don't have this, I don't have this.
There's another email from
I was just
Gwen.
thinking if he's not qualified anymore, I would probably be reading that, right? I don't know.
Was that stated
Okay,
to her?
here, from Gwen in January.
Well, she got all the information, so she's the one that goes over it.
She got all the information here, but did you state to her that he's applied 3
She would
She
know
knows.
because he would apply. Yeah,
knows
she
he
would
has
have
applied.
that.
Because
Correct.
here's an email from her in January of 18, that we did receive an application for sleep-in in 2015. However, I believe that board decided to put in the cul-de-sac and they were not going to offer any further incentives. Here's the deal, this is a new board.
Exactly.
This is a new mayor.
So
this
he
is a
might
new
have
clerk.
applied to another board.
Right, and that
Yes.
other
He
board
did. He
did
applied.
give him their TIF incentive. So
Yes.
he's been given the cul-de-sac, he's been given the sewer development.
Yes.
If this board chooses to do more with him, you may
Right.
choose to give more money to everybody out there.
Well, and that's the
you
thing,
know,
is
I
you're
don't know.
opening up to then every developer out there that's
Can
gotten any
come
TIF
back.
agreement. is
No, I
gonna
see
come
what you're
back.
saying. The only reason I'm not saying yes, I totally agree with what you're saying, is because he is a business owner in our village and he came to us and said he was unhappy with the way he was treated by the village. And I feel that's, we need to do our due diligence. And I have no way to check that because that employee doesn't work here anymore.
Well, the
We do
issue,
have a way.
the issue
When?
there though is when he said that, the statements that he said, and then he
Uh-huh.
handed out the emails,
Yeah.
the emails that he handed out in that meeting didn't say what he said in that meeting. He said that, and exactly what he said in that meeting was that he had not applied, which is not true because he did apply. He applied in what I just say, 5/19/15. So in that meeting when he spoke, he misspoke maybe when he said he had not applied before, because what he said was that that employee told him to come back and apply after he billed. That's not true. He applied 5/19/15. And he also said that I didn't have all the numbers and all the costs and didn't know what they were until after I billed. Again, not true, because he had all the numbers and here they are on page 3 of his application. And then he said several things that he said that code enforcement officer told him, and he implied that they were in those emails, and they weren't in those emails. So, like I said, several of the things that he said that he didn't have and were told he wouldn't have were right here in his application. So,
Correct me if I'm wrong, does he own 2 hotels?
not in South Jacksonville.
One in South Jacksonville, one in
Yes.
Jacksonville.
Okay.
Well, I think his
His dad owns
dad,
the other one, I
maybe your
believe.
family.
And he's building, it was in the Jacksonville paper, he's building one in Lincoln, Illinois or something.
Big truck stop.
Atlanta.
Big, yeah, so.
Oh, he is? It's like a
Yeah.
$5.1
With
million
TIF
project or
assistance,
something.
you know,
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, the short time I've been on the board, we've dealt with a lot of previous board decisions, and so I don't like to do that. I like to look at what we are presented with.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying maybe he didn't misspeak, but I cannot justify, I have no way to prove what he said about not being told. I don't know what happened, so that part bothers me because I feel we need to be transparent in the village and make sure if someone comes to us about TIF, we tell them and we explain the process, but, so I don't know what the right thing to do is.
I don't know, I mean, I've done what I said I would do with this guy,
Mm-hmm.
and if it's a decision of the board to drop it here, then so be it. You know,
I personally don't want to drop it.
I think you might, I mean, I'm not a trustee, but I think from someone who manages, you know, this TIF fund stuff, I think you need to really look at what your goals are for this TIF fund. I mean, you've got this 12-year extension, what are you gonna do with it? That's over $500,000. I mean, are you willing to give that? You know what I mean? Are you willing to invest that? Are you willing to, I mean, what are your plans for this? What do you wanna do?
Well, perhaps we should wait till after the election, because the board may look different, and is that really fair for this board to make a decision
On that kind of
before
money?
a new board is seated, you know, and we have one more meeting?
Well, when what you just said, I'm gonna put it back on you, because you just said we've been dealing with a lot of past administration issues. If we're gonna take care of it, I think we need to take care of it.
Oh, but I just mean, like, if we're gonna have this board do it, we have to decide tonight, because we have to
That's what I'm
Oh,
getting
okay.
at. That's what I'm getting at.
You
If
think
we-
we're close to deciding? I mean,
No.
if we are, oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, we could throw
So,
it on.
yeah, you're right,
We
yeah.
could throw it on the agenda and let it go for a vote, and if it passes, it passes.
Well,
If it
then
fails, it fails.
maybe we do that,
And,
yeah.
and no hard feelings either way. But if
Yeah.
it,
Works for me.
And then see if the new board is interested in revisiting it. I mean, that is a fair statement then, you know, this board's seen it, we've heard it.
Yeah.
We can make the
I
percentage anything
I
we
think
want
another
to.
thing, if you're gonna take it to vote, you better look at that 65%, because
I think the
I'd hate to see
65.
it go through and it be 65%.
I think and that's part of the negotiations when they're building, and that's why it would have been better. I'm not
Absolutely.
criticizing you when I say
No,
that.
I
That would have
agree.
been better. That's why negotiations normally happen when they're being built or before
Absolutely.
they're being built. Because like with Loves, you're looking at motor fuel tax and sales tax and a lot of that. So it's like, hey, it's more of an incentive. We want you here.
Exactly.
And what,
Suppose.
wasn't
But
there a
you've got
50-50 though?
as far as saying, we want you
That's-
here, that's a
No,
little
but-
oil well pumping out every.
No, I agree. I'm saying those are just. I'm not saying we don't want the hotel here either. I'll be clear on that. I'm just saying if it
No, I
was
think
a
that was
There were just different
something
things.
else.
a shop that doesn't have sales tax.
Other revenue area.
Yeah.
Wasn't it 50-50 that Gwen sent back though, a proposal for that?
This is all the standard things that I've seen or contacted her, I've talked to her today, but they always send them back 50/50.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
But
Okay.
again, you know,
Sure.
here's Love's with 60/40,
Right.
here's the other one with 90/10,
Sure.
and that wasn't this
Well-
board's doing. But whatever you decide, you've got to live with this. You're not gonna go
That's what
back
I'm
in.
saying, before it
You're
goes
not
to
gonna go
vote,
back in
you
there.
better decide what percent you want too.
Right.
And you're not, I mean, you're not wrong there. A lot of these percents are much higher than that. But like I said, the Gardens got 80%, but they got 80% of $19,000. It's a lot different than
Right.
65% of 1.1 million, you know?
Yeah. But you have a great point. I think that further discussion is, what do we want to do with TIF?
Yeah, I mean-
We've never had that discussion.
And get some
We
bang
want
for your
promote.
buck, because,
Yeah,
you
really.
know,
That's what we want to do.
you're not gonna be in that sweet
But we've
spot
never
for too much
planned
longer
that out,
with
John.
that
What's
extension.
that mean? Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, because then that helps you when you get this.
Right.
Well, how's that fit in the big picture of what we have planned?
Yeah.
You know, I completely agree with whoever said kind of being tired of dealing with previous boards' decisions that were odd.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it.
I'm most definitely tired of that, and I'm tired of taking guy's word from what he has that's different from what documentation says, and that, you know, Gwen sends a thing saying, oh yeah, all these invoices say that this is all eligible for this amount of money, but then there is another application from 2015, and the idea of revisiting something, I can't say if he was misled by Wilbur verbally or not.
Right.
There's no way to prove that. I can't say anything that's not provable on the paper. And I think it would be insane to say, okay, you applied for the TIF, you maybe, a couple years down the line, don't like what you got, so go ahead and apply again, we'll give you a sweeter deal. That sounds insane to me. Because we've got it, we've got a TIF application there from 2015. He didn't get whatever money he was asking for there, got a cul-de-sac and a sewer drain, or whatever, I'm sure but I think it's just crazy to say, sure, come back and ask for more if you didn't like it, because there's different people sitting in the seat. To set a precedent saying we'll give you more.
I don't know what he asked for in 2015. How much was it?
I don't know, it's It's on the thing.
Doesn't say, which is, again,
And-
that's
and
up.
that was never turned into Gwen.
Yeah, I don't know if that was
Like
turned
Gwen,
in.
I'm
was it?
talking
It
about-
was, that's how we
That's-
found out that he'd
But did
applied,
they-
when he said he hadn't.
But it was never voted on by this board, correct?
Not this board.
Not this,
Well,
but
it was
passed.
it ever voted on by a?
I have no idea.
I don't think they voted on the percentage because they didn't want to give him any. I think the discussion
Okay.
was, if you go back to the discussion was, is if he built down farther south, closer to the, I'm gonna say the hotel we're talking about, closer to the truck stop, where the truck
Right.
stop
Guys.
Right.
is now, that they would have gave him more money, which he didn't want to do. And they said, well, if you build there, it is what it is. We'll build the cul-de-sac.
That's how I understand it too, from
Yeah.
talking with Glenn.
So there was nothing, there was no money to vote on, so
So I
that
won't
was it.
have any documentation for a lack of agreement, because if you don't have one, I can't show you, you know what I mean?
Go ahead.
But to clarify that, and I'm throwing it back on the owner because that's where it really lies. I'm not trying to sound like a jerk about it, but when you're building a multi-million-dollar project and the TIF is have the agreement before you start building, that's on them. That you have that agreement before you start building. I mean,
We don't know what happened. We don't know if this was ever brought before a board. You know, we don't know what the results was, if the board ever decided on anything. You know, I mean, we don't.
And if this is an incentive and he built, does it matter if the board decided on anything? Because he built, so he doesn't need the incentive anymore.
that's my point, is that it's on the owner to ask the board for a percentage. And if they build without the percentage, then they apparently don't need the incentive to build.
I mean, the reason why the board didn't make a decision might have been, he was told things verbally that there's no record of that made him not ask properly, or it could have been
Could have been
a
that
conspiracy, it could have been somebody was sick and they didn't come in to do it, it could have been anything.
Could have been, we don't
But he
want a
still
fourth
built.
hotel because we don't think there's enough incentive for a fourth hotel. I'm just throwing that out there.
I don't think it matters,
Yeah.
because he still built. And if it's an incentive, and you do something, we've gone through incentives at my work for school kids, and the issue there is all of a sudden people were notified, these are the kids who are eligible for the incentive, and nobody had any idea what the incentive was for and how you could be eligible and what they were doing. It was just, here's who's eligible. And so that's not really an incentive because it wasn't something to work towards. And so if this is an incentive for building in our community, then that's what you work towards, is like you build to get the money back. Or you get the money back to build, whichever way you want to phrase it. But if you build, then you don't need the incentive to build. Like it wasn't necessary. Obviously, to me, that seems, I mean,
And back with the percentages, it's up to us to give, we negotiate and give the least amount we can to get somebody to build. If
Right.
business A, B, and C
The
is coming.
percentages is something I just,
No,
I picked
but-
out.
Right, but that's what I'm getting at though, and if
Right.
that lowest percentage is 0, and we can get ABC company come here and build and develop, and it's 0, and they'll come in and they say, oh, we didn't even know there was a TIF program. Cool. I think we've discussed it to death though, so.
Well, I mean, I did what I told you
No,
guys.
Yeah.
you absolutely have.
And
But you
it's,
gotta have a
and
percentage before you
I'm
take it to
grateful
a
for
vote.
it.
and it's my
Whoever would
opinion
make
that
the
this
motion.
guy is eligible for some refund, you know, that's my opinion, and
I'll even go on record and say, I agree with you that he's eligible, but not entitled.
There is
it
a,
says right there, eligible.
So we have decided something, that he's eligible.
Yeah.
Then we have to decide what we want
What?
to do about that. you know.
No, he is, Gwen even says that, you know, I mean, it's eligible, doesn't
Yeah.
mean he's
Not entitled.
entitled.
I mean, I don't think we're gonna solve anything tonight, and I'm still gonna be here after the election, because I have 2 more years, so I don't wanna get rid of it, but maybe revisit it, later. make you do more work, Dick, but.
It's good.
Well,
Because this is a long-term, we need to discuss what our plan for TIF is, I feel, before we can even entertain this, because that's a big chunk of money.
I think she's right. Yeah.
And then maybe we'll have people who say he might be entitled, but, or not entitled, eligible, but they don't wanna give it to him, but I feel like that's kind of premature at this point.
And all the rest of that ground out there is TIF eligible,
Right, so we need to be very cognizant of that, what do we wanna do with that?
you know?
Right.
And we have a potential housing development over here that could be developed through TIF money also.
Yeah.
If we wanna go through with it and do it and all that, cause it's nothing that's easy about this whole thing.
Yeah.
Are you talking about east, are you?
Pardon me?
Which,
Just across from the fire department. if that
oh,
ever-
never mind. I
Yeah,
was-
no, if that ever gets developed out there in front of the fire department.
I thought you were pointing at a different one.
No,
So then Harry, what do we do if, cause I get
Was-
your point about
was table-
voting, but then there are those unknowns.
We'll just
that
table
we-
it till the next committee meeting.
Okay, and
Yeah,
then maybe
'cause
just
it's
revisit
just-
it. Cause this seems like a really large thing we need to talk about.
I think the most important thing to iron down for planning for the future
Yeah.
is that it's an
TIF.
incentive.
Yeah, and what
It's a carrot in front of you,
Yeah.
not a
I think it
pat
would
on the
educate
back.
all of us to figure out what this actually means and what do we want for the village.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mayor. Public protection. Oh, I just noticed that I was before Johnny. I appreciate that, whoever did that.
Oh, you wanna
So he's
skip,
asked me to move
you
right
wanna
along.
skip down to John
Move
first,
along,
you said?
Skippy.
Crossing guard, we're asking for the council's, as a action item to go along with our hiring of John Grady, new school, Brady, new school crossing guard. I explained it to Harry and a few of you that we'd like to make this position more of an auxiliary police position down the road. Nothing that we're gonna do at this time. We'll bring that to you in a committee meeting and give everybody an opportunity to talk that through. But that would allow us to use that person for 4th of July and other things rather than just the school year. And I think it would make the position itself more enticing rather than just working, and being
Did
on.
you say Grady or Brady?
Brady.
Is he the John Brady that was a bus driver?
Yes.
Okay, so just full disclosure, my kids grew up with his grandkids. So if you guys want me to abstain from voting for his hire, because I know him personally, I've known him for, I don't know, a long, long time.
He started a week ago and he's
3250, you're gonna know people.
Okay, yeah.
He's
All right.
absolutely fantastic.
And he is.
It's worked out great that he knows all the bus drivers. 'Cause
Oh, good.
He's working with them on the school behalf.
When I saw his name, there could be more than one, but, yeah, he would be
So
great.
again, just asking for an action item for the approval of hiring him. Code enforcement officer, for those of you that haven't met Bree, we're absolutely tickled to death. She hit the ground running. A summation would be small and mighty. She has taken on, there's certain residents that we're already missing cars that had full car lots at. She's taken the job head on. Paula, you've had an opportunity to meet with her. Dick, thank you very much. You've spent time with her. You folks are gonna be thoroughly impressed. She has hit the ground running and we're tickled to death with her.
if you
I'm
screw
gonna-
up, I'll kill you.
Yeah.
That's one of those things. You're supposed to, you're the beep. What happened to the beep?
Sorry.
No, seriously, I'm gonna chime in here. She's done a wonderful job so far. She pays attention. She has some very good ideas, and tell them a couple of them if you would.
Actually, do you mind telling him the one you shared with me that I was like, oh my gosh, that's a wonderful
okay.
idea?
Well, I have a little, let me give you a little background.
Yeah.
I have a degree from Western in community health, emphasis in environmental health, and a minor in occupational safety. So I'm a safety girl. I worked for a health department for almost 10 years enforcing food, water, and sewage, plus the local ordinances. So although it might not appear, I do kind of have a little bit of an idea of this. My approach is a voluntary compliance type of route first to kind of feel people out. And then if we have to go down a different route, we can do that. But I'm also one to here's the problem, but here are some resources to solve that problem. In good faith, I can't just be like, well, this is, deal with it, see you later, or I'll see you in 10 days. Because you know in 10 days they're not gonna do anything, because they're probably like, oh my goodness, because they haven't done anything in years. So I'm just trying to compile some resources and say, you know, maybe call this person, or you can reach out to this person and get the ball rolling. I have no problem helping them, guide them, you know, but just kind of extending that hand, you know, and see where they go with it. And also letting them feel like the ball's in their court, like we're not forcing this at first. And then if we have to, obviously we've got the rules in place that we can go that route. So, you know, maybe, and if it does not work, that's okay, because we can adjust sails and go a different direction. So if you guys know of resources or have any ideas, please let me know, because that's what I'm working on right now, is something like that. So,
Okay.
And I think with that being said, you had some ordinances and
I
some
do.
things that you
I
wanted the
do.
council to look at real quick.
Tim and I talked about business licenses, taxi ordinances, and possible landlord-renter ordinances. So I kind of pulled some sample ones from various cities, villages, and stuff like that, just to kind of look at. I was a resident of McDonough County for 12 years, Western. Big rental. They had an excellent rental inspection. Now they had a rental, don't pay attention to the rental inspection part because they actually had a rental inspection, but the landlord tenant portion of it, I think would fit in nicely for the village. And it's once a year, all the landlords would register their properties. They would be held accountable to maintain their properties, and they would know these things. So we wouldn't have to be beating on it. Why is your gutter falling off? Why is this? And then the tenants would be responsible, like they have to take their trash out, they have to mow their yard, if it's in the agreement, you know. So it would help us, me, not have to, you need to mow your yard. And it seems like, and not all of them, but a lot of the offenders, if you will, are rental properties. So this might help us. Like I said, these are just samples.
And we can make copies.
Yeah, okay.
Numbers for
And
everybody.
then that's the rental, like every year that they would fill out for that. But it works. I mean, there was a lot of kids there, and you didn't see some of the stuff that you see in Jacksonville or South Jacksonville. And, you know, there's not a lot. There's just people like their stuff, I'm finding out. And then their stuff spills out into the yards and everything else.
Bree,
So-
one of the most interesting things I thought you had was that booklet. Do you
Oh.
mind sharing that with the council? That, folks, I know we've all struggled, and you folks have spent a tremendous amount of time in the codification process. This booklet, is that from the city?
It's from Jacksonville.
Okay.
I cannot figure out how old it is, but Master Sergeant
Don
Broadus
Cook was
gave it
still
to me.
chief.
Yeah, I tried to look him up and it didn't, you know, to kind of, but Master Sergeant Broadus gave this to me, and I have not given it back because I like it so much. But it's just, their nuisance ordinance is fantastic. It does not specify, it just says, if you're disturbing the peace, this, so we can bundle so much. I mean, without reaching, you know, it would be an easily, an offense that you could just ticket, just a simple ordinance ticket, you know. There's curfew, I mean, some of it, you know, would not apply, but there is some really good stuff. Garbage, there's a really tight garbage section. I'm finding that ours, although we have it, if we could maybe tighten it up a little bit, it would be.
There's nothing wrong with copying another town's
Okay, 'cause
ordinance that
this
works.
is really good. I mean, and if you wanna look at it, but you have to give it back to, or
No,
he's gonna kill me.
keep it, just,
Okay.
you keep it,
Okay,
just let
good.
us know the ones you like,
Okay,
cause there's no
That's
sense
gotta
reading,
be 20 years old.
it's excellent
cause he's
though.
been an alderman for,
Who is it?
Don
Cook.
Cook, he's been an
Don Cook.
alderman for
This is, you know, I looked
15
at
years
it.
now
Yeah.
almost.
Well, hell, there's been 3 police chiefs up there since. So,
And I think just the idea of the booklet.
I think this is
council,
fantastic.
Absolutely.
Oh, I do too.
It's something that, you know, I could take out, cause you know, a lot of people, well, where is that?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, well, if you really
Right
wanna
here.
get right here, you know, and then it's
here.
really user friendly too, you know, I mean, this job, you kinda gotta think on your feet, and so this would be a nice little, call it field notes, if you will, cause, but yeah, this is a really good one, and I'll pass them along. I was talking to Rich earlier about, I got some phone calls today, burning, you know, everybody likes to burn around here, which that's good if they do it the right way. I can't find distances. There's some people that are burning really, really close to properties when they have lots of other they can
Areas
go,
to
yeah.
go.
So like we can maybe come up with like a distance. For one, it would help the police department out probably in the long run, and two, we can say, hey, you can't be 5 feet next to your neighbor's garage, you know. So those are just some things, but this thing's great. I think Jacksonville's got a lot of good ideas, and it seems to work, and then we wouldn't have to do so much work, and it would save, I think, all of us a lot of time, and you know, it would be effective. But some other ones, business licenses. This is Jacksonville's. I also have Shiloh, Illinois. You can look at.
Are those
Just-
specific licenses or just
Just for
registrations?
registrations, how to go about licensing a business, and you know.
Yep.
So if you guys want to look at them, like I said, they're just little quick snippets, but
So
something
with the
to-
council's permission, we can make copies of those and get them to everybody also, that way it's your own. leisure.
Yes,
You can
sorry.
read it. And I want to make for sure that everybody on the council is very comfortable with contacting Bree. She works Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Shout out to the police department, please, anything you need. It's
Yeah.
the relationship and the way that she started this off has been incredible, so.
Thanks. I just want to be, transparent and open and comfortable for the residents to come up to me, hey, I have a question, instead of hiding or trying, you know, we can work this out, you know. So I think it'll be a really good thing. Taxi cabs was another one. I've got some from Quincy and some Naperville. You wanna? I
we'll
make
keep
copies.
until we get
Okay.
copies, yeah.
So those are some other taxi cab, just quick ordinances. Uber, I was telling Tim, I saw Uber driver for the first time. And
I think Uber here would be incredible.
There's someone that parks outside of my across the street neighbor. I think it's one of his kids who has Uber and Lyft stickers on their car. So I'm assuming they're like a dual driver. I don't know if they live here or not, but I've thought about that since you've talked about taxis, and I see them visiting every so often.
I'd love to entertain that idea or talk about that further.
So the last thing on my list, and I'll turn it over to Rich, is Godfrey Park. Council, we're requesting that you, and this may be something that you decide to table, with the investment that you put in Godfrey Park. We talked initially, and Stacy, you had talked and asked for us to look at the security. I've complained about Godfrey Park since I've come back full-time. The way it operates now, the fact that we open the gates at a certain time of the day and we literally prop them open, there's about 6.5 foot between that gate and what we consider one of our major busy streets. What we've talked to Stacy about and what we're proposing to the council is if the council has the ability to use that, the funding from the tourism to go ahead and put the security system in place. We can do it now in this budget year, I feel, with your cooperation, and we can have that in place by the time that park opens. What that would do is that gate would stay closed at all times. It'd be on a spring. We'd put a sign. I talked to John about a sign that would just simply say the park's open at this time. It's controlled the same way the village hall is controlled. As a matter of fact, it's controlled by the village hall. Our end goal in all this, and our end goal is actually 3 years out, but our end goal would be that the village hall controls the cameras, the locks, not only for the village hall, but Godfrey Park, the police department, the fire department. So it's a big plan, but taking little chunks at a time. That down there, the bathrooms would be controlled by these mag locks the exact same way as the village hall is. So they'd automatically open at whatever preset time you folks say this park is opening. And they would automatically close. The bathrooms, for example, would have a motion sensor so that somebody couldn't get locked in them. But we've put together a really good plan. The total expense for this, securing the back part of the park, the gateway that has to go at the village hall, the whole 9 yards to put in this system is $9,800, which I know is an absolute chunk, but that's the largest part of this security system. Everything talks.
4 digits.
And does that include the firewall?
9800.
Yes.
I thought you were gonna
I thought you were saying like 98,000.
You were,
Yeah.
you were talking like you shot my dog.
Yeah, you were talking like it was really.
$9,800, which when you're talking security, you know, I mean, that's huge. But we are, again, our ultimate goal is to be able to control the cameras that are at that park, the cameras that are firehouse, police department, the entire village of the security. Essentially, guys, what I'm trying to do is do away with keys.
You prepared us for way bigger sticker shot than that, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Does that include the firewall?
Yep.
Includes the 2,000, okay.
Yep.
And that's where Tim and John and I have all talked about that. If we can get the board on board with this, we could put it under tourism, because obviously a firewall at Village Hall isn't gonna qualify for tourism, except that you've got $120,000 into this destination site already. So the security of this destination
Yes.
site is important at this
Yeah.
point. So
Should be
that would be
tourism,
how we could
yeah.
pay it under tourism, to go ahead and just get all this settled out and pay for it
That
in
would
this
solve a
budget
lot of your
years.
problems at the village hall as far as Megan's printer. I mean, the firewall that's here is outdated. It's
Yeah.
not conducive to what you folks are doing. The only way that the only reason that we're saying to replace that firewall with this project is that we can't do this project and run those access control points or those cameras without changing that out. So I put it in the whole package for that security upgrade at Godfrey Park. So that would be the only thing, is if the council would entertain, and I'll have the actual bid numbers and the sheet to you prior to the meeting, obviously, but if they would entertain approving under tourism
I have no
funds.
problem with it.
Yeah.
I would have thought it would cost twice as much as what you said.
Uh,
I'm totally fine with that.
You think
Matthew
it's
Martin.
more efficient?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. I didn't know
When
we
you
could do
think
that.
about rekeying just for our community, Dick, you were here through
Yeah.
several rekeyings, you're talking almost $3,000. You know, if somebody loses that one master key, so.
Oh, yeah.
It's, actually, if you look at it from that sense, it makes a lot of sense. For us, it's not about the rekeying, it's not about officers carrying keys, they do have too many. It's truly about the fact that that gate stays closed, that's on a mag lock. Children can't run out. I mean, we have a lot of families that go down there with 10 and 12, you know, whether it's a daycare or whatever the case may be. They can't possibly keep an eye on everybody moving
Right.
in every direction, so the gate is closed. A child is not gonna be able to open that gate. There's simply a sign on it that says push, you know, and whatever you folks deem the wording to be, but it'll be unlocked.
And the efficiency side of how many times we've gotten calls
Oh
of,
my gosh.
isn't the park open?
Yeah.
They're tied up, they didn't get down there, it's 11:05 and it was
Yeah.
supposed to open
Yeah.
at 11, then,
Yeah,
so,
that makes
it
sense.
works for me, so.
Me too.
Rich, I'm gonna turn it over to you, but I would like to say on Rich's item of residency.
Isn't it Rich's turn?
We've teased a few times about this. I would, if the council's gonna review this for the fire department, I would ask if they review it as well for the police department, and that is the residency requirement. It's just the day and age where that thing, the chief of police for Jacksonville lives outside of town, talking ETAs to get to work instead of actually living within a boundary. I see both sides of it. It would make our lives a lot easier in recruiting as well as Rich's if you would revisit the residency requirement. Sorry, stole your thunder.
All right, so one of my main goals as I took over as chief in January was to be able to recruit some more volunteers for the fire department. Since then, we've added three members, been super great assets to the fire department, worked out well. With the volunteer issue nationwide, it's kind of wanting to look at some areas to be able to help, get more volunteers in. And so one of those I'm playing around with is the residency requirement. So right now, we're just limited to the village limits of South Jacksonville, so it's pretty narrow. I've called some other departments. We're basically about the only department in Morgan County that is that close, in that close proximity. Most of the departments kind of have, they live in their fire district, their fire coverage area. I've talked to some that have a time to the station. You know, like, and so an example is Southbrook subdivision's not included in our residency, and 9 times out of 10 you talk to a resident out there, they think they live in South Jacksonville
They
just
do.
because
You're right.
it's
They do.
it's so close, and like out past East Vandalia, past the park type stuff. So, and I've been approached by one person that's just outside the city limits, and I've also talked with another very qualified individual for the fire department that lived just outside the limits of South Jacksonville. So, in saying all that, I'm just kind of my request, you know, to talk about our boundaries maybe be live in our fire coverage area that we have for rural fire, with maybe a time, you know, no more maximum than 10 to 12 minute response time to the firehouse. You know, that those people could be there for our secondary calls that we have. But
What's your response time now? Like, what do you have, I mean, the people that live in the village, how long does it take them to get there?
a couple minutes. I mean,
Okay.
you know, it depends where you live. You know, if you're over on Hardin and getting across Maine and all that, you know, you're looking at a few minutes. But
So do you have any rules now for like where people work? I'm just saying, like, you work in Jacksonville.
right.
Then if you worked in, I don't know, like Franklin, would that be, but you live here in town, like there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I mean that. Yeah.
So I see it as like, why not go the other way with it? If somebody would be, not saying like so far as Franklin, but I don't see a problem with it. That if someone lives close enough, maybe they work at the gas station and they're like, yeah, I'm here all the time and I'm in the area and I live on the other side of Jacksonville, but who cares? And I don't see that as a big deal.
Right. You know, like I said, that's just, you know, one, I think, step to look forward, you know, moving forward with, you know, the nationwide problem of volunteer firefighters is, you know, we gotta kind of loosen up some things. So I think that would be a positive approach. I know for sure one, if not two, are willing to come help us out, so.
I'm just curious, does your department have anything now for recruiting within our village? Do you have a program or a process you go about recruiting now?
Not yet. I mean, we're working on that. You know,
Because I just wondered if you did, and like you could show us that, hey, I've done this, this, and this, and they failed, I can't get people.
right.
Then
That's
I
what
think
we-
I'd be
you know,
more apt to say, well, maybe we need to move out, but I don't know. I
Well, I
have
think the
nothing to
word-
gauge that on, I guess, right now.
I mean, I would like to do something sometime this year, kind of an open house,
Yeah.
get some people in there type thing, but, I mean, it has been publicized quite a bit in the media that, you know, we're looking for volunteers, and it's in every community around. You see it all over the place that people are always looking, so.
We could put up a billboard in June, that's how,
Yeah.
isn't that how McEvers,
That's
yeah.
how Mike McEvers.
that's how he started out, he saw a billboard 25 years ago,
Yeah.
Right.
whatever it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
You're just lucky Sherm isn't here because he would say, you
Yeah.
need to live in the village.
You know, he did vote for me.
He did, that was a
I'm all for
surprise.
Thank you.
That was a surprise.
I have a weird question, and I don't know. Do you think it hurts, it holds you back calling it volunteer? Like if they knew that they were gonna be paid for part of it, would that help you any, or not?
Possibly, but, you know, this type of work, you almost gotta have it in your blood to do it. I mean, in a way,
Sure.
you know, you gotta have a heart for it.
Well, sure, cause you're on call all the time. I get
Right,
it,
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm
they're-
not saying it wouldn't, but, you know, I mean, most people that do it have, you know,
It's not about
wanna,
the pay.
not about the pay, you know. they
So
wanna
if they're
help
gonna
out.
do it, they're gonna do it whether it's volunteer or
Yeah.
not.
It's just like being a trustee, it's not about the pay.
I was just
Speak
saying
for
what I was
yourself.
saying.
No.
That's what I was told. Pay your water bill.
Alright, well, how about we table that one and look at some boundaries or talk about some, either boundaries or times or get something like that
Okay.
more firm before we try and make that an action
Yeah,
item.
and I
Is that-
would, I don't know if it's a bad request.
No,
but
no,
I
not
mean,
at all.
But I just feel like we maybe should be able to document, we have, because you know there are gonna be naysayers, people want fire department members to live in the village. So if we can say, we've tried this and it hasn't worked, then I would feel more comfortable, just because I always like to have an answer if somebody asks me. And right now, I wouldn't know, what to answer.
Keep in
Yeah.
mind also that the police officers have a response time. So our officers are on what Rich is kind of asking for.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
so, I mean, right now, we're the only ones
That-
that are locked down to right here,
Yeah,
so.
so I'd make
Yeah.
it a firm, like whatever we're gonna decide, either a 20-mile or a 20-minute.
Across the board, for
Yeah.
everybody.
And I don't really care about that, because you mentioned two different things, like fire district or fire coverage.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like you're the chief. You should tell us what you
Right.
think makes sense, and then, because, that's not my job. I don't
that.
know what you should.
And remember,
with the coverage.
if you want a minute coverage, that should be your normal driving, not your response.
No,
driving.
absolutely.
Okay.
Or else the
That's
police.
putting Google Maps and.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So maybe come back with like a definite type of proposal and,
Okay.
So, and then, yeah.
yeah.
Are you awake over there?
I'm barely.
Okay.
It's past your bedtime, John?
Yeah.
It's your turn.
Okay, real quick here, motor fuel tax, maintenance program. If you remember back in January, we passed a resolution for $10,000 because with motor fuel tax, you have to do it January to January, not our fiscal year. So we had to do that to carry us from January to May. Mike McEvers and I did the drive-through, looking at $49,000 more to add on to motor fuel tax for the year. That's our maintenance program as far as oil and chipping. So you're looking at a total of $59,000 for the year on motor fuel tax. That's the maintenance and then oil and chip. So I give them both to you, just so you can remember, you passed that one
Okay.
back in January. This is the one for this year, and it'll be an action item.
For how much is that gonna be just for this portion? I know you said
49 more.
49.
49.
I know I'm not supposed to talk anymore, but I have to.
Yeah, you had your one
I
question.
know, it's not a question, but I do want to tell you again, the board, just so you guys know this, because John won't tell you, this would have been a problem paying for this year out of MFT, had John not found that $168,000 that they left on the table back in 2015. So,
Wow.
because he found that and all that, we were able, you know what I mean, like, it's not a problem now, so.
Well, thank you, John.
Good
Yeah.
job.
Still no raise though.
Didn't tell you to say that.
No, he didn't, but I think it's important that people know that, when you do good, you know, like,
Expected
that's a
of you,
big
John.
thing. you
We
know?
always hear about
It is a big
mistakes,
thing.
and you don't often hear about,
Right.
hey, you did a
Absolutely.
good job.
Right.
Yeah.
Holiday Inn lane repairs behind Quick and Easy and in front of Holiday Inn, the road is going apart bad. It's concrete. There was no base put under it back in late 90s when that subdivision was done. And it's coming apart more than just a repair. So what we're planning on doing is when Michigan Avenue gets redone, they're gonna come out at the same time frame, tear that out, put asphalt in it. We don't have a price yet, but it's one of those things that it's gotta be done. We have $48,000 in escrow that was from back in the 90s in that subdivision that was held back for things. So we're proposing to use that for part of it, and the other part will come out of the TIF. I'm guessing, don't hold me to this, I'm guessing 75 to 90,000 probably to tear that out. Isn't that about what we thought when we met with him that time?
I don't remember.
We had, I saw a proposal, I meant to bring it tonight, but it was $90,000.
Yeah, it's somewhere in that neighborhood, guys. So, I mean, about half of it'll be out of the escrow, the other half will come out of TIF.
If everybody's good with that, that's what we want.
Yeah.
That's what we're
Yeah.
proposing, because that way it's not coming out of general.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And when are they looking at doing that?
We're hoping to get them on it after they get the Michigan done.
I don't know when they're.
The
that was
May,
supposed to have been last year, so-
May timeframe. So,
After,
After fiscal year.
yes, yeah, and we talked about that too.
that was my only concern, so.
Yeah. This says water plant roof, but it's the softener plant up here.
Softener plant roof, okay.
In those 50-mile-an-hour winds we had, it ripped a lot of the shingles off, and it's got to be stripped and done. It's $3,800. Harry and I talked, we're not gonna turn it into insurance and have another hit for, our deductible's $1,000, so to save $2,800,
Would
we're
you
not
be
gonna
better
turn
off
it in.
going to a metal roof on that? I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be a lot more, so. And I mean, I've been here 23 years, it's never been roofed. I mean, it's,
Okay.
they just have wind, they're old, the wind
Yeah.
come through, took them off, and there's no,
Be the problem.
there's no repairing them.
It's older than you.
And the last thing that I have is, lift station repairs.
This is every day.
Frickin' frack here. The lift station, if you remember, we had the fire last summer, and that is still a saga. Insurance is dragging their feet. We're finally getting things rolling. The cabinet for the controls is almost done. So I'm hoping in the next 2 to 3 weeks to see some activity out there, start getting things put back together, so. And that's an insurance deal, so.
How is it you can talk about more than 10 but go so much faster?
Hey, I'm hungry, that's why. And that's all I've got, guys.
Any old business? Let me real check. I'm just gonna 1, 2, 3, 4,
Oh,
5, 6,
the
7,
boat race
8,
happens,
9.
right?
Yeah, we haven't gotten it yet, so
Okay.
if we don't write
Okay,
it.
I have a note on here, so
I
I will make
believe.
sure, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I
was
tried
watching
calling.
the star. I think that's all right.
All right.
I had a note from earlier. from
That's
him.
all right.
September.
What?
Yeah, he just likes it early.
There's a big clock right there.
Do what?
8:35.
Yeah, the JHS prom, but we already covered that. Yeah.
Any new business?
Just,
Just wanna make this statement, there's no money in the budget for the police for a new Corvette.
that's right.
Motion to adjourn.
That's what y'all have.
You have to
Motion to adjourn.
A second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.